Good day, everybody, and welcome to my class today. I'm so excited to teach you a very interesting topic. And before we go to our class, I want you to take a seat and find yourself in a very comfortable position, which of course you are seated. And I'd like you to have yourselves stretch a little bit so that it can activate your blood flow. It is important that we do that, right? And I'd like to welcome, of course, everyone. As I said, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world right now. As we know, the online teaching is very, very common these days. So then I'd like to first check your attendance. Let me just give me a few seconds here. And I want to make sure that you are set, okay? And I wanted to make sure that you can hear me okay and see me okay. Just give me a message if you can't hear me, okay? And if you can't see me, okay. All right, I think we are good to go. So everyone is here. So then today I'll be focusing on one or two of the most important skills, which are writing and listening. Okay, more of writing, but a little bit of listening. And we'll be focusing on adjectives. Okay, so let me pull up my slides today on PowerPoint. There you have it. So our main objective today is to distinguish and use properly an adjective when describing and comparing two or more nouns. And we know that a noun can be a person, a thing, or an event, which we can do according to degree or intensity. And I'll explain to you shortly, okay? And I am going to show you shortly again also, about adjectives, some images. But before we do that, I'd like to, you guys form yourselves into three groups. So regardless of how many you are, for example, like 3 to 4 maybe or 5 members in a group, and then I've sent you two appendices, Appendix A and B. So I want you to take out the Appendix A where you will write 5 simple adjectives. For example, small, thin, big, whatever. So that describes an event, a person, or a thing. And now after that, after you have done that pre-task, I will ask one representative from each group and you'll read your work before the class, okay? So are you ready for the first image? Here we go. You take a look at this first image and I'll go to the next. Something that describes what you see, okay? It can be quantity, quality, color. Here's the third. Anything that describes that you can see in the image. And here's the fourth one. Okay, now going on to the fifth. So these are very, very descriptive images. But before we do the whole thing, I want to give you like a brief description or something more about adjectives as it relates to the comparison according to the degree or intensity. So now what is an adjective? We know that an adjective or adjectives is a part of speech. And as I've also said, that an adjective describes a noun. And a noun can be a person, place, thing, or an event. Now, what we can do with what's so interesting about an adjective is it can be used according to a degree or of comparison. And I'll be focusing on the three types, the three degrees of comparison named as positive, comparative, and superlative. I hope that you are following me here. And if you have any question, just send me a message or let me know, okay? So I can give you more explanation if you think that you are not following me, okay? So I'm just going to make this lesson as simple as possible so you can totally understand what our topic is about, which is really interesting. This is one of my favorite topics in English grammar. Okay. Now, we go first to the positive. So when we say positive, it's the adjective itself. There's no comparison, and it denotes the quality, quantity, or values of a certain noun, or as we say, a person, place, thing, or event. Okay, so this is the very basic form when you are doing the comparative and the superlative degrees. Now, when, for example, as you see in the images here, in the image, it's the ball, okay? The ball is big. So that's the very, very basic form of the adjective. There's no comparison yet. Now we go to the comparative, which now implies, as from the word itself, comparative means compare. Compare is the root word there. So it shows quantity, quality, or value in greater or lesser degree. So we're talking about two nouns here, okay? Two things. In the example there, as you see, the ball is bigger than the one to the left, okay? So going to the superlative, which is the greatest or the least degree. And here we are talking about three or more nouns. Now, as you see, again, the ball, pertaining to the ball, the object, as we see in the presentation today, biggest. So big, bigger, and biggest. So there are three nouns being, or three things being described or being compared to. All right. But you have to know, how would you know that that is the right way to form the degree of comparison? So there are some rules, okay, that I want you to remember, and here they are. So for the first rule, we add ER to compare, and then EST to say the superlative form of the degree of comparison. For example, fast is the basic form of the adjective. So it's just, that's it, fast. You don't put anything in it. It's the very basic form, that's just fast. And then if you wanted to compare two things, like boy A runs faster than boy B. So we add ER in the end of the word, fast. In this case, it's fast. So when you want to put it in the form of the superlative degree, then you would put EST, or so you make it fastest. So this is how you do it: fast, faster, fastest. Just like in my previous example here, the ball is big, bigger, and biggest. Okay? Another rule is when you change the word ending in Y to I and you add ER to make it a comparative form, and then EST to make it the superlative form. So heavy, heavier, heaviest. Okay? It's easy. And then you can also form the degree of comparison by adding the words more or less, or most or least before the adjective. For example, more acceptable when you are trying to compare. Or then you can say most acceptable, as you would like to form it, to make it as the form of the superlative form. You would like to express it in the superlative form. Now you can also use most acceptable or least acceptable. Okay, so more acceptable, and then most acceptable, and then most or the least, sorry, least acceptable and the most acceptable. Okay, now you can also form the degree of comparison when you change the word and entirely. For example, good. What is the comparative form of good? You cannot say more good, but the correct way to say it is better. And then the superlative form of good is best. In the same way that you say bad, worse, worst. You don't say more bad, but you would simply say worse. And then the superlative form of bad is worst. Okay? Now, the opposite is you are not changing the word entirely because you know there's no comparison there. For example, the word absolute, perfect, ultimate, eternal, and so forth. Okay? Now, this time I wanted you to take the Appendix B, and if you don't have any copy of that, let me know. But you are going to also be in the groups that you were in the beginning of this class, okay? And what I wanted you to do is to use that form to to write down the positive, the comparative, and the superlative forms of the verb. But this time, I'm going to show you again the images that I showed you in the beginning, okay? So this is going to be a group work. So I'm giving you a few minutes as we go. So are you ready? So this is the Appendix B, okay? So this is how it looks like. I hope you have the correct appendix. So the first one is Appendix A, and this one is the Appendix B, where you will write your answers when I show you the images. Okay, are you ready, guys? Here we are. So the first one I showed you in the beginning, it's French fries. You can describe anything. Okay. And if you are watching this class, this is can be a pre-recorded one. And if you are watching this one as a recorded video, you can just stop here and do your work. You can invite your friends to do this task. And from there, you can just write anything that describes this image. You can pause at any time, okay? Now here's the second image. Okay, as I said, you can pause this video and then work on the second one using your Appendix B. Here's the third image. You know what's so interesting about adjective is you can really be so observant. You become to really scrutinize what you are being shown, and from there you can appreciate what's there, like what an adjective is. Okay, so going to the fourth image, it's an elephant. Now you can think about what an elephant looks like or what are the descriptions of an elephant. You can just say anything that pertains to an elephant. Now we go to the last image. This is a very colorful fish. Okay, so again, I encourage you, if you're doing this on your own outside of this class, I encourage you to just go over all the images again. You stop the video, you pause the video, and then work on the task using your Appendix B. Okay, of course I did my own homework, and I'm going to show you what I've done using the images, and here's what I got. So you can have also a comparison of how I did it myself, okay? So French fries, it's crispy, crispier, crispiest. Now, because the second image shows only two individuals, I just put tall and taller. I cannot have somebody to be the tallest there unless, there's somebody that you can't see. And then the teeth, white, wider. And then the elephant is big, bigger, biggest. Now, the fish, hungry, hungrier, hungriest. You can be more creative in specifying whatever adjective you would want to put with these images, okay? Now, it's going to be a really a more interesting, see, I'm using the comparative, the more interesting subject matter if you would make it, say, invite more friends or family members to do this. So now for the main task, this is what I wanted you to do, okay? For the main task, I want for each group, get a member, or sorry, 3 members, and we are going to do a role play, okay? And it can be anything, any topic that you'd like to talk about. It's just only a 2 minutes duration. And so 3 members from each group will just, randomly talk about any relevant topic that they would like to just express before the class. And the remaining members or the students in the class, I'd like you to just write down all the adjectives. And then what you do is to put in the positive form, the comparative form, and the superlative form. So I just created this one so you can talk about anything. So for example, this, okay, you imagine yourself being with your friends talking about the weekend. So the first one says, hey guys, how was your weekend? And now the first student or the first person says, it was really good. I worked on my projects at home. And then the second one, the third person there says, mine was better. Mine was a better way and it's time to relax. Now the fourth one says, the last weekend was the best of all weekends. I spent time with my family. Okay, so it will be a very, conversational task. And at the same time, you are going to express using the adjectives as it relates to the degree of comparison using those words. And make sure to use the rules so that you can express more and what you wanted to talk about. Any topic will do, okay? So if you are not in class, you can do this with your colleagues at work or family members or anybody so that it can certainly improve your English grammar using adjectives. So I hope you learned something today and I'm looking forward to the next class.